Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vidillon and his radio show. Uh, this is our
Hello.
first episode. Say hello, Jason.
Hello.
Say hello, Ruby.
Hello.
So, today, this is our first episode. Hopefully, all goes well. We have a few topics to talk about today, surrounding one topic, one main topic. Uh, a man I've known for a long time, has recently, what's the word I would use? He has he has passed me. No, he has crossed me. That's it. He's crossed me recently. He's done a very bad deed. He stole my idea to start a podcast, didn't he? Jason,
What?
didn't he steal our idea to start a podcast?
Yeah, probably.
I says to him a few days ago, "Hey, buddy, we've known each other a long time. How about we start a podcast to have something fun, interesting, and exciting to do for us and our friends, right?" That's fine. He was like, "Yeah, that's a really good idea." So he assembled his gang of groupies, of slaves, basically. We'll get into that later. And he was like, "Okay, this is it. However, we can't have many people on the podcast. So goodbye, Dylan." And bang, I was fucking out. He removed us. All right. So now we're starting the original podcast, the good one. Uh, whereas his is, of course, a rebel one. It is the false one. It is falsifiable quite easily by the fact that he stole it. How else do I say this? He is a bad man. He is unprincipled and tyrannical. All right. Now, here's the thing about Matthew. Matthew is an interesting character. As you know, Jason, is the world black and white or is it grey?
Gray.
Right. It's not just one thing or another, right? Matthew's an interesting character with quite a lot of positives and negatives. However, I was recently notified by a source of mine that he has in fact been diagnosed with psychopathy. So there you have it there, folks. Matthew is a psychopath, right? And he is the man that is leading this opposing podcast, the Cream Boys, right? Or the Creamy Boys. I don't know which one it is. I don't care. It's psychopathic, right? Now, he's an interesting man, so he is. He is one of the bad things about him, though, is of course he is an evil manipulator. Okay, and let me go into detail about that. He doesn't manipulate people very badly. What he does is he gets these talented people like Tempura or Spiffy. He gets these lovely, good, talented men and bends them to do his bidding, right, for his personal gain. The idea of fame and success has gotten to his head. He has gone insane and is now literally psychopathic, as diagnosed by a doctor of the APA. That's it, right? American Psychiatric. Yep, that's it. So a qualified doctor said he's a psychopath. Of course, the doctor based that of what I had originally said. You know what I mean? But that's irrelevant. Now, what else is there about Matthew? He's an interesting character. I've already said that a few times. But there are more evils to his name than you would at first expect. Not only has he essentially enslaved the assistants of these two men, these two good hard working men, right, who now are forced to do his bidding. As far as I'm aware, he's basically set up the alternative of indentured servitude, which is of course quite a bad thing for podcast employees. But hold on, before I go on, right? We know as what is basically a fact that he has enslaved his co-workers. But tell me, Jason, am I enslaving you to do what you are doing here today? Or are
Not
you here
really.
willingly? Are you here willingly?
Well, I made time to join, so yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Or Ruby, are you here willingly?
Yep, I've also just found something absolutely horrifying.
That's good. But yeah, so he he enslaves, I liberate, right? You can go on to the comments of our previous video. The announcement of the podcasts would be starting soon. Uh, you can see one of his workers almost escaped the mind trap that is Matthew's podcast. And I told him, we would liberate him if he so wished, but I think Matthew caught on to it and shut it down. You know what I mean? Harshly, like how the Soviets responded to Budapest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's basically the American Khrushchev. You know what I mean? Or although that being said, he is quite feminine. For instance, he. Oh, and by the way, all of his personal qualities are reflected in the podcast, which is what makes the podcasts so evil. I mean, if you think about it like this, some bad men make good things, right? But in this instance, it is a bad man creating a bad thing, which will benefit bad people and detriment good men and good women. You know what I mean? I hope this podcast helps people realize the tyranny. He is a tyrant, I believe. And my evidence to back that up is the fact that he sided with Caesar's Legion in Fallout New Vegas recently. It's true. It's true. It's terrible as well, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because he's mad. He started a lovely YouTube channel where he posted some memes. He dressed up as Joker. He was a jolly man, wasn't he, back then, in the days of his prime? He was a happy bloke. But the fame got to his head. He's power obsessed now, so he is. And I don't think he can ever recover. But that being said, if you do have any shelters open which could potentially rehabilitate this man, email dylanandradio@gmail.com, and we'll try and forward that information to him so he hopefully can get into a shelter somewhere to try and help him. But I have no high hopes. You know what I mean? No high hopes. But yes. So Jason, tell me, what do you think of Matthew?
Retarded.
How so, and why?
Just because of how he reacts or doesn't react to certain situations.
Now, what do you think? So, a recent example is someone was referencing bombings in a conversation, and his first response was to bring race and religious issues into the question. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
I was wrong to see what type he was talking about.
A bomb went off in Northern Ireland, and he immediately accused the IRA
In my street.
or black people. He tried to say,
course.
no, sorry, no. This was in reference to graffiti.
Yeah, he wasn't even talking about the actual bomb. He was on about the graffiti that was left.
Yep.
Before the bomb.
There's a saying, and it's love the bomb, and, well, you shouldn't really. I think it's a bit of a silly saying, isn't it? Because bombs kill. You shouldn't really love it, but each to their own, I guess. If you can have a 14-year-old with a piss kink, I suppose you can have a bomb love if you want.
Don't even.
Don't even what?
No, I know so many people with piss kinks my
Oh, there
age,
you
and I
go.
can't handle it anymore.
Well, you're not 14, so
I'm 15.
yeah, and I suppose
There's a
the rest
thin
of them my
line.
age. But what you call it? Yeah, it's a terrible reality. And of course, Matthew, speaking of which, Matthew encourages these evil principles to be brought forth into our minds. You know what I mean? He tries to get you to think about them. Like, see if you're ever chatting, he'll just now and again go like, piss, or uh, uh, he'll try and slide it into conversations to try and get you to think about it, and eventually you'll start liking it. Or another example would be Tom Pearl. You know what I mean? He just tries to slide it in, and it's fucking underhanded KGB tactics. I believe he does in fact have the same training as KGB agents did during the Cold War against in order to get information out of American citizens, not agents, just American citizens. The innocent, and vice versa. It's quite frankly is a tragedy. Uh, but I failed to mention earlier. You could go like, "Oh, Dylan, everything you're saying is unsourced, and could be false," which is absolutely true. But I have a witness to back up the things I've said. All right. It is a girl whom has met Matthew on multiple occasions. Okay. And well, she has her own take on the man. So, hello, Stormy.
Hello.
Now I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Okay.
Okay.
What do you think of Matthew?
Oh, he's a prick and he's a snowflake.
Why is that?
Well, first off, the snowflake part, he gets offended very easily and leaves the server a lot
Why do you think that
because
is?
because he's a snowflake and can't take a fucking joke,
Okay.
or it just lets people get on his nerves,
Yep.
especially people of the internet. That's stupid.
Now, for context, are you aware, Stormy, that he is almost 20 years old and lets a 16-year-old bully him?
Yeah, I'm aware of that, which is still stupid.
Okay, good, I agree. Now, so another question is the fact that members of the APA, psychologists of the American Psychiatric Association, have recently come forth and claimed they have diagnosed Matthew with psychopathy, which of course is the condition which psychopaths have. What do you think about that? Do you think it's true or
Yes.
false?
Yes,
and
I
why?
think it's true. Because he looks like one and he acts crazy
What do
a
you mean he
lot.
looks like one?
He looks like a psychopath. And
No,
if I saw him walking down my street, I would see him as a psychopath. If that makes sense.
now you're aware, right, that in the movie American Psycho, Christian Bale, whom is often said to be relatively attractive or handsome man, plays a psycho. So based on that, it is possible that some individuals may find that what you said about him looking like a psychopath, is in fact a compliment on his looks. What do you think about that?
Well, first off, that actor isn't attractive.
Do you know who I'm talking
Second,
about?
sure. Second, Matthew's just full out crazy.
Okay, so he's crazy
'Cause-
now. So you're claiming insanity?
Yes.
Doesn't he have videos on his YouTube of him screaming?
Oh,
Yeah, and
that
he
is a
just
claim
made
I can
YouTube. He was
source.
literally
Yeah,
just eating. Wasn't he just eating semen or something?
that's
Because it was
true.
white. Like,
That's true. There is a video of him on his own YouTube channel consuming male semen. That's true. It's
Exactly,
recent
that's
upload.
pretty
You can go check.
psychopathic to
In
me.
fact, I will link that video in the description. So if you would like to go, see yourself, that's completely fine. Go ahead. I won't stop you. In fact, I will enable you to go check and bring back your conclusions. Some people say, hey, it was a cream egg, or hey, it was whipped cream. No, he doesn't like either. He's told me he only likes cum. It's true. It's just a fact.
Isn't he lactose intolerant too?
I do not know. He could be, possibly, but I don't know. But if he is, that just backs up my claim even more. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
No.
And he still lives with his parents. And he's not allowed to drive, which he's 20.
Okay, for context, he would crash a car if he tried to drive it, and his mother agrees with that sentiment, so He's not been given a car, nor has he been tested, which is fair enough, nor have I. But then again, I am like over 3 years younger than him, almost 4. So there's that.
Yeah, and I've been driving, and my mom trusts me, so with that,
Does she
Yeah,
trust
I
you
don't know
not to
why I'm calling
crash?
you.
Does she trust
yeah,
you not to crash, or does she just not care if you crash?
she trusts me not to crash, because I know how to fucking
Okay.
drive.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Someone
Yeah.
died in the tower.
Do you know how to fly a plane?
No, I don't.
That's another thing about Matthew. He doesn't fly planes. That's true. Believe
Well,
it or
he
not.
shouldn't. He would just, if he was like airplane pilot or whatever, he would just, if you ticked him off enough, he would just crash the plane with people in it. I could see it happening.
Crash it into what?
I don't know.
Are there any
Recreate
particular
9/11,
towers you have in mind?
the Twin Towers.
You know, funnily enough, they weren't twins. They were not exactly the same genetically. In fact, buildings don't have genetics, so it's actually
That is
impossible that
true.
they would be twins. Just a fun fact, I thought. Um, but yeah, that's really all there is. Now, of course, his
I'm
evil.
done.
That's good. His evil character is, of course, reflected in his evil works, which you can see on his YouTube channel or his upcoming podcast. Now, I should say. I don't know, I don't remember if I've said already, but the people who work with him, Tempura and Spiffy, they're good, honest, hard-working people, good men. But Matthew and his evil manipulativeness, have enslaved them to, follow through with his bidding.
I
Which is
know, and
almost
I've
always
seen it
evil.
and heard it.
You've seen it and heard it. Can you give us an example?
Cause he invited me to the server with Tempura and Datto.
Right. Well, for context, I have no clue who that second character is. Is that Spiffy?
Um, I have no idea,
Okay, continue.
but he tends to be really gay towards them too.
Oh, okay. What do you mean?
Like we'll be in VC because he'll force us to play Jackbox, and
For context, this is a almost 20-year-old man who cries if 15 and 16-year-olds don't want to play Jackbox with him. So, and this is the first time hearing of this. He must force this is another form of enslavement, obviously. He is, enslaving these individuals to play his game, to try and entertain him. Because after all, he is a psychopath, isn't he? Other people don't matter, right? He isn't. He is a psychopath. He only wants them to be there so that he can get his enjoyment out of the game. Correct?
yeah. And he threatened to kick me from your server when he was admin if I didn't play Jackbox with him in this server.
Now, for just so you know, Stormy, you could have told me that, and I would have just, made fun of him. In fact, I wish you told
Yeah.
me earlier.
My
What's wrong,
bad.
Ruby?
Next time I'll tell you.
Huh?
What's wrong?
Nothing's wrong.
No, I should say I'm getting pinged like fuck, so I'm turning on Do Not Disturb. I should have had that done already. Sorry, but
Oh,
wait,
shit.
no, never mind. That's a brilliant. If anyone's watching and they hear that, we're gonna check their own Discord. Uh, That's brilliant. But anyway, I think that about wraps it up for the first episode. I just wanted to get across why his podcast is, of course, so evil, which I think
Oh
I've
yeah,
done.
and also
Oh.
wasn't he starting a podcast because you were starting
He
one
yeah
just to get
yeah
even with
that's
you?
what I said before you joined. Yeah, he stole the
Oh,
idea.
okay.
He stole our idea of a podcast, and then he was like, oh yeah, we'll do it together, and then he of course removed me and Ruby from it. So there you go.
That's bullshit.
And he didn't even have the
Shitty.
kindness to ask Jason to join.
That's rude.
I know, he's an evil man. Don't trust him. Don't
Yeah.
let him in play parks. Don't let him
I've
near.
never trusted him.
No. He's the sort of person that you're like, oh, he's
He
lovely.
also told me his full life story within like an hour of meeting me.
That's true.
Uh.
It's surprisingly short for how much detail there is, but yeah.
I
But
wish I could
yeah,
say
as
what
I
it
said, I
is,
think that
but
about wraps it up for this episode.
I think you could probably sum it up with a few words though.
Yeah, a few big words. But yeah. So hopefully you guys who have watched this now, can somewhat comprehend the idea of how evil and bad the Creamy Boys podcast truly is. Now, although I should say once again, not the other members, just Matthew. He makes it all evil by his presence. Uh, you know, whereas say if he were to become a guest on this show, it would be good because our good would outweigh his evil. You know what I mean? But
and he
yeah,
tries to get people on his side
which
a
he has
lot.
accused me of, even though what I was just trying to do is liberate one of his, colleagues. That's all I was trying to do. So, as simple as. But yep. Anyway, that wraps it up for episode 1. Why Matthew's podcast is so evil. If you enjoyed, watch the next one. I guess I'm not gonna tell you to like it because I'd come across as a twat. But anyway, bye. Say bye, cunts.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.